few words before we begin. The important one is that this session is being recorded and it will be published on for everyone to see. So please remind that. And my name is Vesa Apro, and I'm creative technologist at Yle Innovations. Yle Innovations is a small team within Yle's technology and development. And what we try to do is we try to understand technological disruption by experimentation before it happens. And I think Web3 is a kind of holistic mess, and it's quite impossible to experiment in a lab for us. And so this point, we are trying to understand what's happening through forerunners in the field. And thank you, Anna, for trusting with us with this session. This is super exciting. And so today we are going to talk about NFTs and copyright with a panel of experts, and I'm really excited to see where this goes, like in few hours. I asked Turo Pekari from Music Finland to run the session because he's seasoned Web3 expert from Music Finland and knows this stuff. So that's it, Turo. I'll let you continue from here, and please hijack the presentation.
Thanks, Vesa. Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. So, like Vesa said, my name is Turo Pekari. I work as the Innovation and Business Development Executive for Music Finland, which is the Finnish music export office. We help Finnish music industry professionals to grow their international business. And in our strategy also, collaboration with tech companies is playing a big role. And like some of you might know, Web3 and NFTs are quite a big hype also in our industry. We have a very, very exciting group of experts today joining this session. Lara Dias from Decentraland, Joshua Akinsanya from HRTNet, and Juhana Harju from NordXE. I will let them all to explain more about what they do and give presentations before my opening speech. To start with, I often quote a story from last year when a company called Injective Protocol purchased a work of an artist called Banksy and converted it into an NFT, and after that burned it on video. Injective Protocol is a decentralized finance platform which is basically developing financial instruments utilizing blockchain technology. In a later phase, they kind of explained that they had to destroy the art piece because if it still existed, the value would remain there rather than in the new digital asset. This is kind of a dark and grim example how real-life items are connected to tokenized assets, but it gives you an idea where the future might be heading in the world of today's topic, NFTs, which stand for non-fungible token. NFTs are unique, irreplaceable assets that live on the blockchain. They can be in-game assets, digital art, and collectible related projects are basically the most prominent NFT use cases today, but we're seeing a lot of stuff happening in other types of assets as well. In contrast, fungible assets have units that are interchangeable with one another, such as blockchain or a dollar bill. In the past year, NFTs have exploded in the global investment scene, and digital items regularly are selling already millions of dollars in auctions. They are a part of a bigger hype trend, which Vesa mentioned, Web 3.0 or the next generation internet, which is basically built on the core concepts of decentralization, openness, greater user utility, and control of private data. Its building blocks are blockchain technology, including non-fungible tokens, and quite often also something people refer as the metaverse, even though they might not understand what they mean with it. What makes Web3 interesting is basically the potential of mass penetration of a decentralized system. And at this time when many people are worried about the big power of large tech companies, which could be dangerous for the whole humanity, the idea of a decentralized system is basically harking back to the original internet ethos, putting power back to the people. And this is already starting to feel appealing for many people also outside the core blockchain speculators and enthusiasts like we are in these discussions. The positive sign is that we're already seeing a new way of consumers using blockchain technology. What makes NFTs unique is that they are really digitally unique. When you register a digital asset on the blockchain, a unique ownership is granted, as every NFT has its own identifier, which is not the same case, for example, with Bitcoin. They are publicly verifiable, and you can trace their ownership. And the token in your wallet basically proves that your copy of the digital file is the original, while your private key is the proof of ownership of the original NFTs. And for creators and media companies, the interesting thing is that NFTs are scarce. So basically the creator of an NFT can decide how many replicas are minted. Ideally, they could power a new creator economy where creators don't hand out ownership anymore or their content over to the platforms, and royalty payments could be completely automatic. But to be honest, reality is still that for copyright legislation, this is a very, very blurry area. I come from the music industry, so my knowledge from Web3 and NFTs is mainly from there. And if we think about the early first implementations, like I mentioned, they've been mainly digital collectibles from already successful artists, basically bought by a fairly limited group of cryptocurrency holders. It's going to require a wide adoption and also new knowledge about the crypto world and digital wallets in the consumer and creator space to make NFTs a common format. Basically, as long as the masses are not owning and using digital currencies, the entrance to NFT market is still highly limited. Still, I think we are living now very, very exciting times, and NFTs could easily become a successful onboarding tools for fans and artists to start using digital currencies. But this really needs a paradigm shift from one-off $1 million sales towards more high volume and lower price transactions. I personally believe that when NFTs can secure a long-term value and benefits beyond the piece itself, it could actually offer new possibilities to make NFTs a new asset class that could actually work for the creators. And this is basically done by connecting tokenized assets to the real world. I think if we are looking at some examples how NFTs have been recently used, many of us might know that an artist sold his digital artwork for almost $70 million at Christie's. Sotheby's, which is another big auction house, recently opened a new gallery. But the notable thing about that is that it occupies prime real estate in an online metaverse where they are auctioning NFTs. For music, I think the most exciting thing we are seeing now is basically when NFTs are unlocking privileges, for example, to ticketing, backstage passes, exclusive content, store discounts, fan club memberships. NFTs can be tied to live streams and concerts, but they are also a way to distribute royalties. And this is an exciting thing also for the discussion today. NFTs can also be used for storing ownership, for example, of instruments. They can be used for a programmable secondary ticketing for live events, not just music, of course. And as an asset class, NFT is already a format for the metaverse, immersive and virtual spaces, and they can be used for investments or pre-financing of arts, music, events, any types of productions. For content creator, this could mean accessing low interest loans using future royalties as a collateral while still maintaining ownership for or equity crowdfunding where fans can invest in their favorite artists to help them to create new music and engage in the potential for revenue growth. Decentralized finance and NFTs together will also quite likely move us from collectibles to equity, engagement with fans, new types of sponsorships, and new ways of collaborations. We're going to see more creative contributors, more co-creation elements with NFTs, fans co-financing, and a wider mix of different media, distributed token mechanisms for royalty payments. With NFTs, you might be able to handle this all, but I really underline the word might, because the whole concept of ownership in the Web3 is what makes this space still quite uncertain, but at the same time very interesting. Today we're going to dive in this in our discussions and talk about what are you actually owning if you own an NFTs, and what kind of assets, non-legal or legal types of ownership they might represent. Now I would like to give the floor to the first presenter and expert, Lara Dias from Decentraland. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. So thank you for the wisdom shared, so that actually you made my slides easier now to explain, because after this, so I'm gonna share my screen with you, the classic. Can you see my screen? That's the question of since 2020 that we've been using a lot of, yeah. So basically, so just a quick introduction. So I'm Lara Dias from, I'm a producer, basically in charge of music content at Decentraland. I've been working in the music industry for quite some time as well, but have a past in logistics and international trade and finance. But for the past 8 years or so, I've been working in the music industry. And I've been living also in Finland for the past 8 years or so, but originally from Brazil. So I'm really excited to be really like working in the Web3, and I'm still like, as we speak, I'm learning, as every one of my colleagues there. We are still learning what Web3 and Metaverse and everything is, and actually the idea is to shape this up together with the community. But let's go, and I will the things about blockchain and so on that I'm gonna go through. I'm just gonna go briefly because Turo did a great job of explaining already. So I'm not gonna spend too much time. So then we're gonna go to this practicalities of NFTs and what they are and so on. But basically, blockchain can eliminate the issue of data getting hacked, lost, or deleted, stolen, etc. And I think that's an important thing to talk about, is that IP, intellectual property, can be moved between one part to the other, and automatically, which allows faster payments. And also, I would like to say also that technology, and subscription has made accessibility to technology better. So now, instead of paying 10K of license fee, you can just buy like a subscription for software like Adobe and so on, which is quite important, for instance, for those NFTs that are being launched nowadays. So with $12 per month, you can, unleash your creativity and launch an NFT, mint an NFT, and so on, if you have the talent for those things. Well, smart contracts have been explained already, but basically it's a contract that tells you by code, like if this happens, then do this or that. So it basically the execution of the certain thing agreed between the parties is done automatically if that criteria is met. So basically you remove some agent or some middleman in between, so that makes things faster and more efficient, basically. Then I listed like few pros of smart contracts. So single source of truth, it's a good thing, because right now, sometimes you might try to find who is the owner of that copyright, and you might find like that you might not find, or like maybe the right holder transferred that to someone else, and so on. So basically, smart contract allow you to have the actual data. Also speed up payments, as I mentioned, and that makes it quite easy if you have multiple right holders. Then it's actually, you can input on the smart contract actually the shares of every of the right holders. So for instance, I have 15%. And Turo has 50, and so on. And then like when the payment is done, everyone receives their share of the rights. And that's really relevant and important for everyone involved in IP somehow. The cons, or something that already Turo mentioned, the knowledge gap, barriers of entry. For instance, you have to have a wallet, you have to pay gas fee. Some people still are not so into crypto, are thinking like it's a scam or something. It's not scalable yet. So for instance, if you are to use a smart contract, but in your supply chain, part of it won't use it, so basically it won't make much sense for you. So ideally, you will have the use of smart contracts throughout the whole supply chain, let's say, or then we have like the common types of NFTs: original work, ownership rights, and metadata. I'm not going to go too much in technicalities. Maybe later, if there are questions, we can go into that. So yeah, this is like something discussing with a colleague of mine at Decentraland, Juhana. She was like, yeah, basically Web3 means like removing the middleman. Which is great, which actually removes the gatekeepers as well. Sometimes it makes easier, more accessible for people to get into the space, because you don't need an agent. You can do a transaction directly with someone else. You just need to be there, and basically, so I think that's really empowering from the community point of view. Also like worrisome for the actual brokers and middlemen that are traditionally in between. So how are they gonna evolve in that space is something that they also need to think about, and how they're gonna offer more value than just be in between. Anyway, so that will be a lot of reshifting, in my opinion, on this. Yeah, so in the Web2, people we will use a platform like a web browser to buy something, to like a web shop, and then they will receive something in the digital life. And Web3, you will be part of that content also, and the transaction might happen there and stay there. So you might buy a good that you're never going to see in real life. It's always going to be digital. So this is also one difference, and it's hard for people to grasp the value still of that, but we'll get there. So I think my favorite kind of NFTs are the utility ones, because as you know, as Turo explained, they actually attach to something in real life. So I think that's easier for people to grasp the value, right? But millennials like me, traditional people, want something physical as well to give proper value, let's say. So for instance, there are like wine NFTs. So you basically buy future wines. So for instance, I want to buy a wine that's going to be ready in 2 years from now, and I invest in that wine. And when it's going to be ready, I'm going to receive the shipment of that. Also, real estate, in real life real estate. I'm not talking about buying land on the metaverse, but smart contracts are making the process of buying a house or a estate faster and easier. So less bureaucracy, but also it depends on adoption as well, right? Royalty payments, I don't need to go into that because Turo explained it so well. So, and we can discuss that later. You can buy domains, Ethereum domain names, for instance, and then sports. And I think that's quite related to the music industry as well, in the sense that you can get tickets, you can get souvenirs, merchandise and things like that. And that applies for both music and sports, because you have a fandom and you have that passion for your team or for your artist. And then you can get NFTs that are going to give you certain benefits because you bought it. And decentralized finance, ideally, there's still like high gas fees and a lot of transactions in the Ethereum network, but basically, and that's hopefully going to change with Ethereum 2.0. But the decentralized finance, basically, you remove also the middlemen, and you have peer-to-peer transactions, and you have faster payments, and that's especially very important in critical situations like that you need to send money to someone urgently, and you don't have business days to wait. So now we're seeing like conflicts in the world that you might need to send transfer to someone else. So that's a really important thing, and I think the decentralized finance can help out in that sense. Obviously, there are other issues coming with that too. Then investment, you can invest in shares of companies, for instance, now using NFTs, and basically when the profits are shared between the shareholders, you already have in the smart contracts that you own certain share, and then that will be distributed accordingly. So also faster payments in that sense. Research funding, you can use NFTs for that. Metaverse land, you can obviously buy land and invest in that and build stuff in the metaverse, build experiences for the community, for the users. Also, even loans, you can loan, or you can borrow money, but you can also be loaning money to others, or cryptocurrency using NFTs. And also coupons. So basically also you get some discounts on certain items, like in real life or e-commerce or things like that, buying a certain NFT. Play to earn also. So you play and you get money or cryptocurrency out of it. Digital fashion. So you dress your avatar the way you want to express yourself. And people say that this is also sustainable. I believe that too, because people want to express themselves, and so not necessarily they're gonna buy more clothes and make it, the carbon footprint even higher, but they will just express themselves through their avatars. However, we still have gas fee problems. So we need to also address that. But for instance, there's Polygon, which the gas fee is quite small, even though it's like rising lately, but it's still small compared to Ethereum. Then you have proof of attendance, or POPs, which are collectibles that if you attended an event, you get. So that might be like one of the first NFTs a person will have. It's given for free, and that NFT can give you future benefits. For instance, if you attended that event last year, this year, the event producers, they want to reward you with something, let's say a t-shirt or access to backstage thing, or anything that you can think of. If you own that from that previous edition NFT, you can give benefits, for instance, for that. So this is something we do at Decentraland, for instance, already for the users, and we use the POPs for that. Then on supply chain, you can track a product from production throughout the whole until it gets to the person that bought it the last, and you can track the whole history, and you can actually pay suppliers and so on, and see if there is any delays. So it's really good for logistics and tracking the product as well, and checking the quality and so on. Also membership, that has been talked about. So if you're a member of a certain club, you can have an NFT, and that will unlock certain benefits for you. You can have a collection of NFTs, and gaming is the obvious use of NFT that's quite being used a lot for the digital assets, the power-ups that you might have in your games, and so on. So OpenSea is one of the biggest marketplaces for NFT, and so to date they had 20 billion NFTs in NFT sales, which is a lot of money. I think it's like for 2 years or 3 years or something. 1.2 million traders. So you can see it's quite concentrated still, which means like higher value. So I would love in a few years to actually see way more traders and smaller amount of per NFT to make it more accessible. So as you can see here, just a quick check. So if you want to check also those, if you like data like me, just go to dapradar.com. Those NFTs are quite expensive, 23 million and so on. So those are the ones that actually make the news. But there are like NFTs being sold like normal prices as well. And this is the volume in 24 hours. It's quite a lot of volume. Here we have Decentraland as well. And this was like, I took the screenshots on Monday, I think. So one possibility of making the NFTs more accessible is by fractionalizing them. So you have ERC 721 type of NFT as like the mother, and then you have they split up in several ERC20 NFTs, which they will always be connected to the mother one. And an example of where you can find those NFTs, you can go to fractional.art. You can find those popular NFTs and buy a fraction of it if you don't want to spend too much money on them. This also goes for shares of companies as well, if you want, so that's quite an interesting way. And this is like the market so far, so 83 million, and I feel that this is going to grow a lot once that's like an entryway for a lot of people to buy the fraction of an NFT. If you don't want to risk so much, if you don't want to spend so much money, but you still want to be in the hype, then you go. And these are the most popular ones. Then I think I need to increase this. this is like some misconceptions of NFTs when it comes to copyright ownership. So sometimes you buy an NFT and you think, you like in general, you might think you own the rights to the whole thing. So Spice DAO bought this copy of this this Dune Bible, which was like some book written to make the movie. And they had like only a few copies of it, and the Spice DAO bought it in an auction for 2.6 million. And they shared on Twitter that they wanted to make the book public, produce an original animated limited series inspired by the book, and sell it to the streaming service, support derivative projects from the community. The thing is, by buying this NFT, they don't have any of that. And so they receive a lot of criticism because of this Twitter. And then they were like explaining that obviously they will try to license all of that, but I believe actually that was their first assumption, that by buying this, they thought they could have all of that. And it's basically me saying that if I buy a copy of Beyonce CD from back in the day, very rare recording, I now can put it to play on a metro station and everything, and I can license to movies because I bought this rare copy of her CD. That doesn't mean anything. I don't own any of her copyrights. So that's like a lot of misconception, even though he paid a lot of money and he could have licensed the work probably for less than this money. This Spice DAO didn't have the right for doing that. So now I'm going to explain a little bit of Decentraland and what we do there. How am I for time? And I'm running out of time. Just
I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. So Decentraland is a virtual reality platform powered by Ethereum blockchain. Users can create, experience, and monetize their content. So Decentraland is split in two, let's say, organizations inside Decentraland. One is the DAO, which is a decision-making tool for Mana and land holders. Mana is a cryptocurrency that was done when there was like the ICO, the initial coin offer to fund the Decentraland platform. So then basically through votes in the DAO, the community can decide the future of the platform, and also issue grants and make changes to list of banned names or point of interest, and also the catalyst nodes that make the network function. Also, the DAO control the lens and the smart contracts. The Decentraland Foundation is actually, I work for the Decentraland Foundation. It's a non-profit independent organ which makes its own decisions, and we take care of the IP of Decentraland, and we try to promote things that will nurture the community. So we promote events and also trainings for the community and so on. Let me just explain a little bit of the creative ecosystem that we have there at Decentraland. So we have landowners, users, 3D studios, brands, developers, artists, independent creators, NFT marketplaces, consulting teams, crypto trade tools, organizations, software solutions, and I bet we have more part of the ecosystem. We still need to map all of them. And our mission, the mission that we have at the foundation and also the content team there, is to inspire and empower creators. We educate and onboard new partners, brands, and collaborators, boosting Decentraland content, creating and keeping our communities involved, created, and engaged. So for that, for instance, a practical way of doing that is by having community grants and anyone can apply for a community grant. They need to request through the DAO. They fill out a form, and the types of grants that we have are community, content creator, platform contributor, and gaming. So just to go back to this, so the content creator will basically create buildings and things like that and digital assets. The platform contributor will be the developers. So we have a SDK. Everything is open source. So there is if you go to decentraland.org docs, everything, you can learn how to build things within Decentraland, because everything is open for the public to try. And so a lot of creators, they actually start coding by trying out this content creator tool, which is the builder. And then they start coding, and they learn how to code using DCL building tools, and then they go to the SDK and so on. But we can talk about this later. And this is like the top DAO organizations by governance holders. So Decentraland is in the third here, as you can see, and then there are a lot of others. So if you want to know more like about DAO and how they work and so on, and also how they DAO.io. It's an independent organization. So then just gonna talk a little bit about Metaverse jobs actually exist nowadays. So there are employees and employers in the Metaverse. This is an employer there within Decentraland. So it's not related to Decentraland. There's a landowner. They're building things, experiences there within Decentraland independently. And they already have employees there, which is like an event manager, community manager, and casino host. And there are more jobs as well happening there. So people go to work as an avatar, as that book Snow Crash, right? That first coined the term Metaverse. And then you have like a character there that actually has a Metaverse job. And that's exactly like this. The person is talking and going through the Metaverse as an avatar. And yeah, the future is already here. Then just a few things just to close my presentation. Changes already happening. So for instance, Venezuelan players have found that in-game currencies are more valuable than their own currency. People in the Philippines are playing Axie Infinity professionally, and it's more lucrative than local employment. Gaming is going to be a key way in which people will onboard into crypto. And this is actually happening, for instance, at Decentraland. So sometimes the first wallet the person is actually going to have, it's within Decentraland, because you need to create the wallet to hold your digital assets and how you're gonna do things in the world that we created. So then you can actually onboard into crypto through this, the MetaMask that we use, or integrate it with other wallets. High inflation and government tight economic measure made Argentinians to adopt crypto. So the government was allowing them only to withdraw like $200 per day or per week or something. And then, so the Argentinians found a way around to do this and started using Bitcoin back in the day, I think a few years ago, 2012, I can't remember. But basically, this is allowing people to make a change, and that's basically it. Thank you. Let's build the Metaverse together. And that's my context. So feel free to connect with me and follow me or whatever. Thank you.
Thanks, Lara, for the great presentation. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of questions. I'm excited also to hear about in a more concrete way what you are working on, for example, in the music space and in the fashion space. But now let's move on with the next presenter. Joshua, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm going to quickly set up. All right. So I'm Joshua Akinsanya, and I am CEO and founder of a startup company based out of Helsinki here. And we are using the blockchain to address counterfeiting in the medical industry, and also to help re-empower the customers in this pharma value chain. But before I got into this, I had a startup that was doing artificial intelligence for media and publishing organizations, of course, here in Finland as well. And most of our business operations was in Germany and many other parts of Europe. So during this time, I had this opportunity to interface with executives from, many of the major media houses in Germany, whether it's Axel Springer, of course, in the UK as well, some media organizations there were customers of ours. And the learning from that was that the media and publishing space does have this kind of existential crisis when it comes to revenue streams and business future and all that. So that makes me understand that there is a major opportunity for business revitalization for media and publishing organizations, especially when we think about its possibility to take advantage of the opportunities that comes with blockchain and NFTs in particular. So with that, I promise that my talk today, my presentation today will basically show the opportunity areas that can be taken advantage of. So with that, I'm going to head on right to my presentation, and I'll begin by sharing my screen. So I'm going to pick the right window, and I will get started. Yes. So NFTs, when we talk about NFTs, what comes to mind? Are we talking about non-fungible tokens, or is there a possibility to even say we're talking about non-fungible truth? And as I said earlier, at my company HRTNet, what we are doing is we're using this patent imminent approach to help customers execute authenticity checks on products. And we do this by converting physical products to digital elements known as digital twin. And we are converting those digital twin further to NFTs to simplify these authenticity checks on the customer side. And we started doing this to help eliminate, counterfeit drugs, which is very rampant in Africa. Growing up in Africa, I know this firsthand. And I've lived in Finland for more than 11 years already. Most of my adult life I spent here in Helsinki. So that has really been the core of what we are trying to achieve with the product that we're building. And in my talk, I'll be sharing how digital twin paired with NFTs can become a powerful tool to deliver a truthful and authenticity solution in the FMCG's industry, which is fast moving consumer goods industry. So we know that complex machines today, like jetliners, they now use digital twin to monitor critical components, and they do this in real time. This means that whenever we travel by flight from a point A to a point B, there is in fact a virtual jet that travels in parallel as a mirror in the cloud. So an example is, if you board Finnair and you are moving from, say, Helsinki to Berlin, right? You are in this physical aeroplane, which is traveling in the cloud. But in parallel, there is also a virtual jet that is actually traveling in the cloud, but this time not that same cloud that you are in. We're talking about, the cloud system, like a computer server that is accessible remotely, and it is basically accessible to certain people in the organizations. So the virtual jet basically is recording, reporting, and simulating the mechanical conditions of the actual jet that you and myself are probably sitting in, traveling to Berlin in real time. So this virtual jet is referred to as the digital twin. But of course, as I said, only the captain and the reliability and maintenance personnel usually have access to this sensored monitoring digital twin. So this now opens up a question. Is there a way to introduce, a third element to any kind of product or services in so much as to extend a unique value to the customers? Even if, it might not be in the airline industry, I do believe that it is very much possible. And this is what, HRTNet, for example, my company, this is what we are basically doing. So in order to do this, there are key elements that are relevant to every industry in the world. And it's my aim to expose this potential in my talk. I think that industries where truth, fact, or authenticity is highly valued, or where one of a kind in itself is a kind of commodity with growing demand, and also where scarcity or popularity is directly proportional to the market value. These kind of industries are places where we have identified, and we think that the use of NFTs, when paired with services or products and commodities from that industry, they can become, very useful to deliver extra value to both the business and the customers as well. So the digital twin, in the case of a jetliner, is just a physical product that the customers basically directly engage with. Either they are buying it as a product off the shelf. In the case of medicine, as I said, in Nigeria where I grew up, when you buy medication from the pharmacy, there is high likelihood that the product you're holding in your hands is actually a fake or a counterfeit. And closer to home, my mom is hypertensive, and every month she needs to buy this hypertensive drug. And we know that 30% of the time, the drugs that she's acquired from the pharmacy is basically fake. And there's been countless complications due to this kind of experiences. So this is actually the reason why I am building this company and building this product. So what is the point of that? The point is that when we take this physical product and we're able to use relevant sensors, whether they are complex sensors or they are very simplified sensors, like in our case, we're using the RFID, a very simplified sensor, to communicate between a physical product and make them a digital element or a virtual element called a digital twin. And then we'll take it to the next level, bringing them on the blockchain. So the physical product is in our hands, it's existing right on the shelf. The digital twin is existing on the cloud system. And then we take it to the next step, which is like a triplet, right? So we're basically bringing it from the cloud system and putting them on blockchain. So what we see is the physical product is basically traversing the supply chain. The digital twin is living on the cloud system. And the blockchain, the NFT, the third element, is now traversing the blockchain as a mirror element of the physical product on the supply chain. So as the product moves from the manufacturer to the distributor, then to the supplier, and then the pharmacy store, the retailer, and then into the hands of the end user, an example of my mom, the NFT as well, it carries this provenance data that is being supplied from the digital twin. So the digital twin is supplying a provenance data to the blockchain, and the NFT is receiving it on the blockchain, and it's carrying it as a data, moving, traversing on the blockchain all the way till it gets to the end of the end user or the customer that has acquired the physical product. This helps to prove the authenticity of this product at every touch point of the supply chain. So this is what the combination of a physical product, its digital twin, and of course, its triplet, the blockchain element. In this case, we're using the NFT to deliver this value. So in order to establish this, we know that there's three components that are very, very significant across all industries of the world, whether it's just the authenticity part, or it is the fact that customers want to pay for a unique product, a one-of-a-kind experience, just changing customer experience generally, or scarcity in the case of products that their value is based on how scarce they are. And what we know is that NFT has all these attributes that we can take advantage of. So if we combine a physical product, a digital twin, and NFTs, whether it is called a non-fungible token or whether we're meaning non-fungible truth, it remains a fact that we can deliver extra responsible value to the customer, because the uniqueness of NFT allows us to link and connect products or services to blockchain-based elements. So now, in so doing, we can see that blockchain and NFT basically becomes an agent of social impact, economic growth, and business revitalization. And it directly can help us to show a perspective value of digital twin and the NFT. In this case, when I refer to NFT, I'm talking about the triplet. It might be difficult for us to put a value on a digital twin because it is resident in the cloud systems. But once we get to the third element, the NFT or the triplet, the value can easily grow significantly. It can double the value of the physical product combined with the digital twin, or sometimes it might even go as high as tripling the value. But data is still very important for us to do this. There has to be, transfer of data between the physical element to the digital twin, which is in the cloud, and of course, to the blockchain. So that is where we can easily start to measure the success that such implementation can deliver. The data and the infrastructure, because of this business delivery systems, will change over time. And because of the pandemic, we know that customer behavior has changed significantly. And history will start to repeat itself. And some companies, some businesses will be able to adapt easier than the others because they already have some form of, infrastructure that makes it easy to create this link between different solutions. And it's even easier when businesses or companies start to ask themselves the right questions. For example, is it possible to use NFT in media or in publishing or maybe in news as well? Or where in the house of NFTs, how can it bring extra value to the general business perspective? So for news and media, is it just NFT as a value proposition packaged with content, or is it just about making it easy for people to identify what is actually factual versus when content are being generated without the element of value in terms of fact? that the customer, the reader, or the person accessing the content might really be more interested in, so that we can make informed decisions about lifestyle, about business, about everything that surrounds publishing as a value to the end user or the customer who is receiving this information. So this requires a little bit of looking deeper within the organizations rather than saying, okay, NFT seems very interesting, everybody's talking about it, let's jump on the bandwagon. But taking a more strategic approach to say, okay, do we need to create a unique model where we can now fit NFT or a digital twin or authenticity based on blockchain provenance advantages into our current business? So what we did in our case was we started out by building this kind of model canvas where we could say, how can NFTs really be useful in solving this particular problem? But when I think about my experience with engaging with media executives in the last couple of years when I was building my previous startup company, I understand that many of these organizations constantly look for new revenue streams, since advertising has always been a major challenge because of the growth of internet-based companies like Google or Amazon. All these companies were taking away a huge chunk of advertising revenue. So I do believe, and I am recommending, that NFT could be a unique opportunity, which I think Turo already made mention of during his speech, where he talked about exclusivity. Is it possible to use an NFT as access to exclusive content, where people are actually acquiring these NFTs, whether it's based on limited access, or maybe it's going to be based on a permanent access. If I'm holding a particular NFT that would give me access to special content from ULE, for example, how does that give me extra value as a customer that is loyal to the services that I am getting from ULE? But it is also important that companies, organizations have to consider about these metrics in doing this kind of model to find where blockchain and NFTs could actually sit well with the organization, the metrics that will measure their success, and what kind of extra value. When I hold this NFT that gives me access to this exclusive content that is being released, for example, maybe once a week or once in 2 weeks or once in a month or once in a quarter, what can I do with that NFT afterwards? Can I just take that NFT as a bragging right? Is there a platform that allows me to use this NFT as a bragging right? Can I just hold this NFT and transfer it to my family and say, all right, when I'm not around to use this, you can use this to have access to this kind of content? Or can I move this NFT to, making reference to what AI mentioned during our presentation, can I just take this NFT to OpenSea and actually sell it off, which creates a kind of extra value for me, because now I can exercise my NFT on an open market by selling it, or by just holding it as a collectible to show that, oh, I'm one of the first 2,000 people who got access to this special content or this special news and things like that. So the customer base of these organizations and these companies can take advantage of the community they already have. But of course, in order to validate this kind of ideas, a pilot would be important. All right, let's pilot with the first 100 customers or 100 people who are very interested in what we're doing, and have them give us feedback if this kind of use case is scalable, and those kind of applications. I also see that NFT has a place in brand creativity. This is an opportunity for many companies as of today to start to test out the future based on the customer behavior changes that we've been seeing since the beginning of the pandemic. Because NFT would not be a commodity that could easily go on sale for all the organizations in the world when they think about the core value that their companies represent. But is there a way to also use NFT as a brand creativity case study and get value from that, and then use that to kind of revitalize their business as they proceed into the future? And in doing this, it reminds me of the story of the tulip mania in the Netherlands, probably many years ago, when the tulip became something that everybody wanted to buy. Everybody wanted it so much, and so many people were putting money on it. They were buying it, they were speculating it. And, of course, it went so high, and at some point it crashed. But NFT is completely different from a tulip mania experience. And the reason is that NFT has a component that allows us to connect it with business intelligence. The difference between tulip mania is there's a lack of a system or a way to connect this with business intelligence. But NFT has all these unique identities, like in our case, where we can directly connect them to a physical product that is giving a daily value to the end user. And then the digital twin that is giving value to the operating team of the organizations. They are checking when these machines, this complex equipment needs to be, they need to be maintained, or they need to be inspected, or they need to schedule, a complete change in component that is making the operations of these machines to be smooth. So this is what makes Tulip more different from the NFT, because the Tulip mania was basically emotionally driven and nothing more. But when we think about the possibility that NFT carries, whether it's in the field of art, or it's in the field of medium publishing, or it's in the field of other applications that the other speakers have mentioned ahead of me, it gives us this unique business adaptation that could become easily, and we can begin to hold on to real value. So with that, I'll be rounding up my presentation and saying that I believe that NFT has a use case that is going to radically change how business is done in the next 4 or 5 years. And organizations and businesses that are willing to take the risk right now and take leadership position and say, okay, we're going to test this. We're going to see what kind of value we're getting. We're going to see what our customers are going to give us in feedback. We're going to run pilots and pilots and pilots until we have enough data to say, yes, NFT is a unique business opportunity that would allow us to reposition ourselves for the future. And in conclusion, there is a general question that everybody always asks: why do businesses fail? There are so many reasons why businesses fail. But one thing that remains constant to every business that fails is this: at some point, they have missed a new opportunity to package and deliver the next product and services that a customer or many of their customers are willing to pay for. So thank you very much. That's my brief presentation on how digital twin and NFTs could be a huge opportunity for business in the future.
Thanks, Joshua. I will have one quick question before Juhana will continue. I think pharma industry is a great example also for the creative industries. You were mentioning about the traceability of originality of products in the pharma industry. And we kind of already know that NFT marketplaces for creative content is a jungle. And the problem is that even though it's possibility to store information about ownership in the blockchain, basically anybody who is the first point of data entry can enter misleading information in the blockchain to start with, and then everything is going in the wrong way. Do you have some examples how you can validate the first data entry point about ownership when it comes, for example, to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in our use case, the point of entry is with the manufacturer. Okay, so they are the only ones who can actually create this NFT, and they are the only ones that can release it on the blockchain. So what really happens is before it ends up in platforms like OpenSea, this NFT has already traversed the blockchain in the sense that it has moved from the manufacturer through to the distributor, just like a mirror image of the supply chain, as I mentioned. So this is the this hand of mine is the physical good, and the one on the right here is the triplet, the NFT. So they kind of move in mirror. So when this gets to the distributor, this then gets to the distributor as well, and it keeps going that way, and eventually it ends up in the decentralized application, the DApp, that the end user, our customer, is going to be using. During all of these phases, there is basically no way for them to transfer this out of the smart contract that is basically sending this NFT to the end users. When the end users receive this product, then they can have this, they can activate sending or transferring it to the open market, like OpenSea or Rarible, any other market there. So the manufacturers are actually our customers. And on our web portal, our web platform, we have a SaaS solution where they are choosing the kind of NFTs that they want to use to provide the data about the originality and the authenticity of this product. So they are the only ones that actually have the right to write content. So with that, we are very confident that bad actors will not be able to. However, when a product gets to the open market, we know that people can take screenshots and try to go and resell and those kind of things. This is why this kind of NFT is going to be completely unique, and it's not going to be accessible on general open marketplace. And we're already in partnership discussions with companies like OpenSea, where we are trying to curate a category for these kinds of products. So if you're getting this kind of NFT on some other kind of categories, you know definitely that you are purchasing something that is illicit. That's our approach to stopping that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think those kinds of approaches are something that content and media industries will need as well, to make sure that what goes for sale into marketplaces is the real stuff.
Right.
Okay, I think this is now time for Juhana's presentation. Welcome.
Thanks. I just asked from Vesa how much I have time, and I learned that I don't have any. But it's really okay, because your presentations were excellent, and you went actually through all the stops I have also been talking about if this had been just me talking. So it's like a great background of the NFTs and what is going on the marketplace. So even though we are from different fields, I think there are, of course, a lot of similarities, and we need to know the same basic things. I am a CEO of NordXE. It is a startup, but it's not new. It was founded already in 2019 and started to develop a more comprehensive platform, which would include NFTs, the cryptos, and all kinds of digital assets. And actually, the crypto boom killed the plan, because then just the crypto was so hot that having a cross-platform product was not feasible. So we changed the course and concentrated on NFTs. which was of course already on the table. And now we are opening our marketplace in the end of summer. Yeah, and that's for the advertisement. Vesa asked me not to tell too much about my company, so, but I just need to give the background. And I will start my presentation. And want to just maybe say that my idea is to maybe bring more like background, get it to the higher level where we are finding the reason to employ NFT technology. You had Lara great reasons why different kind of artisans and all kinds of businesses and creative people come to your platform. And Josh, you of course taking care of the safety of the medicine is very important. And then we'll change this and go to the Acrobat. Can you see my presentation now?
We can see your screen.
Oh, okay, now, sorry, yeah, okay. Okay, now you can see my presentation. Okay, thanks. And I just put it full screen. Okay.
This might be the second screen.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. I just employed somebody to do my sales, which is I think is good because this is not my strong suit. We'll find. Can you see now?
Now I see an orange dot.
Yes.
Okay. I have no idea in the world how to make it happen. So
Try to share the tab rather than the window is probably easier.
yeah, but the tab is, I don't have it in my Google Chrome.
Mm.
Okay, can you Vesa help me out here? Okay, please, you have the presentation.
Yeah, I can open it from my computer.
Okay.
Great.
So that would have been a one investor lost, but basically, hopefully there are more. But yeah, my idea is to talk more about why I am personally got involved with this company and why I believe that there is a lot more to be said about the NFTs than the crazy pictures we have heard of the apes and all that. So I think there is a lot more. We need to find a reason why this technology is helping us. Yeah, you can go right to the next slide. Thanks. Okay, I start with the metaverse, and I think there were a mention maybe by Turo, by you, that what it ever means, the metaverse. I really don't know what it is and what it will be, but I know it's already here. I mean, the first picture is a guy with those funny goggles, and I was actually finding a new person to join my team, and I got a great applications. and had a good discussions with potential candidates. And one of them started with the discussion with saying that, I'm sorry that I don't have those goggles yet, the virtual reality goggles. And I said, okay, if you need those, do you think that it's something that will just take over? Everybody has a mobile phone. Those goggles, maybe 0.1% has. So basically, they're not worth anything. The metaverse or whatever it's called, it's already here. It's in your mobile phone. It's in the servers. It's everywhere. It's a combination of the data from different sources with the possibility of bridging things from one cloud to another, and from one NFT, and owning the NFTs, which could be used in games, or which could be used in Decentraland, or whatever. I think it's the connectivity. So it's here. The metaverse is here, and we need to be ready. Next slide, please. And how to access it tomorrow, and what is really important or what technology is that you need to bet on. Do you need to buy a new mobile phone? Do you need to have a folding mobile phone? Do you need those glasses? Do you need a new laptop? Do you need a new console, gaming console? Do you need a super fast 5G, 6G network when it's available? I don't know, and I really don't care. Next slide, please. Yeah, because that's not really interesting. That's I think the next device or the next service or the platform or the next thing that will just blow everybody's mind is they're important, because they are gateways to metaverse, to connect to the data and to each other. But I think the most important thing is to remember that the technology itself, it changes nothing. I'm 42 years old, and I got my first mobile phone when I was 19. It had this game, the snake game called in it. I could phone and text, and yeah, and that was like a sea change. Yeah, you could use a mobile phone to call. But did that change anything? I mean, fundamentally, my relationship to my friends or my then girlfriend. No, not really. But it, of course, gave new options. But I think that the rules remain the same. Next slide, please. I just took one book. It's a good read. I recommend it, and I think it's so sad that it's relevant today, what is happening in Ukraine right now. And I think it's still revolutionizing, because when you see how this history goes forward, it was not the history that everybody will be free eventually. It was not that the history ended, like Fukuyama said. No, that didn't happen. So basically, I think there's a book, or that's a pamphlet you need to read again and again and again. And why it's relevant relating to NFTs. Please, next slide. So there it is when you think about the copyright. So it's the Article 27, the second point is that everyone has the right to protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. You can see the year this was written, that he is the author. I think nowadays it could be also be she, maybe. It should be she and he. But that's how it was viewed then, and it's still relevant today. So basically, this I think should cover everything also in the web. And one of the problems with the technology-driven ideas is that when we find new way to share information, to distribute it, to use it, to develop new products from information that has been gathered, we think that some of the things which are basically basic universal moral principles, which in this great work by United Nations is gathered to a one declaration, of course fueled by the horrible war, which we never want to have again. So they don't change. It's not that, okay, there's this cloud computing. It doesn't change. There will be artificial intelligence, no change. There will be metaverse, no change. And this is something that we really should understand. The owners, they are inside. The owners of my company include people which are very into cryptocurrencies and know a lot about them. And we have been having discussions, and my view is still that it really doesn't change anything that we have the cryptos. It gave new opportunities and let's say giving help to a journalist in a country which is not democratic through cryptos. I think that's great. Or sending help to Ukraine. They help. They are technologies that helps to do things that we would do any case. So we need to take full advantage of that. But that we have blockchains really doesn't change what has been written in 48. Next slide, please. And there is the Article 2, which is important, that this is the right of everybody. And this is the, there's no distinctions where you were born, the race, color, sex, language, no change. And that is actually also very important, because many of the new technologies, they kind of like take the shape of a skateboard ramp, U-shape. So in one end of the user space, there are the people driven by technology, which many times are educated, wealthy, have wealthy parents, are living in the Western countries, maybe more men than women. So like entitled folks. And technology and access to it and ability to use it and leverage your own work by using, let's say, artificial intelligence and services, new services. Trello, you can use Trello if you know how to use it, and you can pay for the subscription and make more money being a freelancer. Then they help you, and they make the gap wider. And in the other spectrum, there are the developing economies, which were mentioned by your great presentation, Lara. Playing these games could earn you real money. They could may be more stable than your national currency, which is crazy, but true, I know. And Article 17, this is important for me and my business, and maybe for you too, that everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. Next slide, please. So do we have these rights now? That is right for everybody, that we have right to own property right now? No. Using mobile phone or computer, yeah. Here's my Apple, I love it, but it's stealing my stuff all the time. I never bother to read all the complex user agreements. Nobody reads those, but they are legally binding. So we don't have those right now. And there is, I think, a great picture of the process. With privilege comes responsibility. And this is something that I think every business that is already big or is aiming to be big is going to be a game changer. Should remember that you have the privilege. Actually, you have the privilege to start a business, to be a CEO in a country like Finland, be safe, have education, access to funds from Business Finland and Finvera, which is crazy. Before getting into this startup game, I never knew that you can get money from government just by asking, like hundreds of thousands. And that's great. That's a right. But next slide, please. So if you remember that with privilege comes responsibility. So what we need to do now, and there's from the start with why, which is okay. I know old book, but it was good when it was new, and still useful. I use those questions. So why NFTs? I think we should be able to own the data legally and in a way that is protected and permanent. So that is like in a cloud, that is in a system of clouds protected in a way that it's not easy to destroy the NFT and the data. So I think the digital thing is yours to keep, and it should be. And it's your universal right to own property. It shouldn't be that you need a working credit card and you need to remember your password, and you need to be in good terms with the Google and Apple, that they just want to shut you out of their cloud, and it's gone. So it's you have a right, and now we don't actually really have that right. It also it's true also with about the games. When you pay something in a game, you buy something and you pay for it. It's just a marking in their in-game data. It's just changes a one data set, and if the game is shut down, you don't have that anymore. You paid for that, but you don't have that anymore. So that's why. And how to do it? I think there are a few simple rules. You need to disassociate this business of the old ways. So the subscription-based data hoarding, user exploitation, and Metaverse are not good fit. And that's how to do it. Just don't do that, yeah, we're giving this for you free, because then we are selling you for a small profit for everybody that is interested. I think the slavery is also mentioned in this pamphlet I mentioned. It shouldn't be. So nobody should be slaves, and people shouldn't be owned, and the data shouldn't be owned and used however you want to. It's just crazy what we are giving for use to for free, so that we can use Facebook, for example. It's crazy. So what we do in our company, I think what we try to do is make it truly accessible. That means that it's not just for the tech pros and those who are privileged and know how they use the cold wallets and know how to swim in the OpenSea. We need to design NFTs so that the old lady next door can use those. We need to have I think this is a great point by Lara about these fractions, so that also the underprivileged people or groups who don't have that much money can use those. And the tech averse, those who really don't like to use the newest tech. I think they should also be able to own their own data as a property. So if you design for those people, then those who know how to use the technology can also use that, and who have a lot of money can use that. So this is for everybody. It's a human right, universal human right. I think this is, and next slide, please. And this has been my presentation, and I don't have a timeline for you right now when this will happen, but the numbers mentioned already during this session tell that there will be a huge surge in business. Startups and the bigger companies and the investors, and after that the public sector, everybody is running out of the NFTs. It will happen, but I mean, now we are actually locking in the values, which then will be replicated through the technology. And those values are actually important, because otherwise the technology, it's just, you know, it doesn't do anything itself if it doesn't mirror the values we hold important. So thank you, and I hope that everybody looking at this set of 3 presentations think that that it's been worthwhile, and I think it's been 3 different views of the same important issue. But thank you all.
Thank you, Juhana. I think it was really important what you were saying about that the subscription economy we have been got to know when we are paying 10 euros a month for books, for film and TV, for music. It doesn't fit very well in the Web3. And already in Joshua's presentation, also you, Joshua, mentioned the thing about exclusive content. And I really think that when we are thinking about new types of content formats and things we are able to monetize with NFTs, it's a whole new avenue of opportunities to sell your content to small group of super fans, which basically can give you enough money to make a living as an artist compared to what you're getting from the bits and pieces from streaming services, and it's a totally new game. But I think the problem is that the knowledge gap is still quite huge, and I would like to hear more ideas from all of you how we are able to onboard creators and other types of entrepreneurs to explore this new space. Any ideas?
Well, I can go first, perhaps, because this is like a discussion we've been having lately at Decentraland, like how can we make it more accessible for the creators, and so we are currently like under discussion of this and making actions on that. So I guess it's by making it more accessible, investing in education as well, and empowering the community to teach each other. It's like a peer-to-peer education. So for instance, if you have someone in the community that knows a little bit more, so how can you empower them? So for instance, through the DAO, we offer grants for those people from the community so they can support themselves while creating courses and so on, and helping other people from the community. And some people are actually creating collectives of creators, for instance. So they create collectives and they all support each other to create content. So if you don't know much, but together you have like 15 people, and then they break down the project and they are able to create amazing things together. So I guess that would be, it's like empowering people, and also investing like on that person, that 12-year-old person, that why, like, how can they start now, because they will be building the future later. So how can you make it interesting for them to enter this space and be interested in coding and building things and so on?
Juhana.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good example of the community and how it works. Another is has to do with the pictures. I personally take pictures. It's my hobby, and I see no reason why I shouldn't be able to have an NFT created by every of the finished picture just directly from the editing software. And if I use my mobile phone to take a picture, I also see no reason why I shouldn't be able to mint a NFT right at the moment when I take a picture and when I edit it and just forward it to my friends. Because if it happens to be a great one, you can get the credits afterward. You can get some money out of that. Right now, what we are doing that for the Instagram and Meta Corporation. They will get our picture and they'll get our money, and they're just doesn't care about anything. And if you show a nibble, you're out. So it's just crazy what we are doing now. It doesn't make any sense. So these could actually help you to be more creative. When this 12-year-old kid, takes a good picture of with a mobile phone and gets the credits and maybe gets $100 for the usage rights, maybe then he or she can understand that this is like you can make money out of this. This can be a work. Being creative pays off. And actually, we coded a mobile phone application as a side project. It took 1 week. It minted NFTs right from the application. So it's not hard.
Joshua.
Yes, very great ideas. Amazing talk by Juhana. It's even more emotional than I thought, because that some of the things you highlighted directly, growing up in Lagos, Nigeria, I can relate to a lot of those things you were talking to on a more closer level. And what kind of rights do you have? Because the implementation of democracy over there is completely different from implementation of democracy here. So thank you for making reference to those things. Yeah. So to the question, I think that we need to start with, or at least do things that do not scale, to begin with, because if we think about cryptocurrencies and blockchain, they've been around 10 years, right? And they didn't scale 10 years ago. They just scaled over time. So we need to do things that don't scale now. For instance, with if I make reference to ER's presentation, where they have this platform that could benefit creators and artists, I think Turo as well. We need to create kind of events where people who belong to this community could actually come and participate and demo and actually see the value. Now, when this kind of things doesn't scale, because you cannot host 1 million people to participate in those kind of physical events if you're gonna really get value from it. So we could start with small numbers and build a community of active key players in this space. I know that many of the blockchain pioneers in Finland have probably migrated to London or somewhere in Switzerland or somewhere else, and we don't have so many activities around blockchain, around cryptocurrency in this part of the Nordics again. So I think this is something that we might take advantage of, so that we can start to show the value network and bring artists or people who could be stakeholders, and these people are going to become evangelists for what we do, And then that will start to scale because they would also do word of mouth because they probably belong to different smaller communities that is related to their work. They can bring these people to this event, they start talking about it, and they are going to become the the evangelists. Let me make reference to a little bit of religion here. So I don't know how many of us are Christians, but if you think about how Jesus took his gospel to everywhere in the corner of the world. They started with just these 12 disciples, just these 12 guys. He just went to them randomly and said, hey, why don't you follow me and let's take this stuff. So I think that even though the technology, the DNA of the technology is currently in designing and fitting stage, like Juhana mentioned, that we are creating the DNA, and whoever is jumping on board in the future, they are going to be replicating whatever we have created now. So even though we are still at that phase where this DNA is still growing and trying to mature, we need to also invest in creating this kind of collaborators through events and programs that may not scale at this stage, but they will become a reference point once things start to scale and then there's wider adoption. So I'm recommending that we have this kind of events or programs where we could interface from time to time, bringing in people who can really benefit from it. For instance, an example would be sourcing students studying arts from Helsinki University who are thinking of when they graduate, how can their work actually give them opportunity to earn living from their passion and profession that they are invested in. So I think this kind of people would have a stronger role to play when we start to see the larger scaling across different verticals. That's what I think.
Thanks, Joshua. Toni Saarinen, you raise your hand.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, this is somewhat Captain Obvious, but I'll say it anyway. I feel like the regulation and like ease of like doing your books and like notifying things to the tax man and like not having different sort of regulations for the taxes and like the student benefits and other stuff like that, because like a lot of young people will probably be wanting to use this, but then they will be probably justifiably worried about like what will Kela say, the health insurer or whatever it's called in English. Like I feel like it is a big limiting factor right now in the space. Like you really don't know what the tax man or the authorities will suddenly slap you with a year later after you do something. And you can have like, let's say you take 1,000 pictures and you mint 1,000 NFTs, and then you get like, let's say a few of your pictures gain good traction. You might have like 20,000 transactions in a year. And then you're like, oh, I have to notify this to someone. And then you go through, oh, there's like one or two guys who do Finnish tax like printouts from even if you link your marketplace to the program and you're not at all like certain if it will be correct. Like this is really a big thing that needs to be thought about. There, one approach could be that like you can earn up to a certain point with like really like lenient bookkeeping requirements, and then if you pass a certain threshold, then you have to start doing your accounts like a business would.
Yeah, I totally agree that one of the big question is how governments and regulators are catching up to create legislation around Web3 and NFTs. This is a crucial thing because we are already seeing that, for example, communities are organized as DAOs. Also for businesses, we have DAO labels already, and they are used for fractionalized ownership of content, and also distributing revenues from content for multiple people. And when this is happening in tokenized world, it's very, very problematic. I was actually doing a project around royalty payments in the blockchain already before all of the NFT craziness started, and we were using fungible tokens and stable coins to make that happen. But the biggest questions were not about does it work. It was, how are we going to report this to taxpayers? And basically that was probably the biggest thing which stopped us making it as a productional service. Do you have any ideas on the regulation side?
Yeah.
Lara, Josh?
Yeah, well, I've been hearing a lot of things about this, like a lot of people saying some things and reading others, so there are some discussions that actually you need to pay taxes when you convert this to fiat money. So if you have a wallet with cryptocurrency, because this is like changing all the time, so basically you don't have to taxation. But then if you convert and you send it, you start spending this money, this cryptocurrency or buy like euros or transfer to your bank account, that's when you kind of basically withdrawing this money. Let's say like from the perspective of profit on the company. So if the money is there quiet invested, it's differently treated in by the tax authorities. But then if you take the money instead of reinvesting on the company, but you take the money as a profit, then you have like a different taxation on that. So I guess that's how it is in many countries. Then you have countries like Portugal, they're like kind of saying that there's no taxation for crypto. Then you have Estonia as well, like there's a bit different case as well. So a lot of countries are deciding kind of making this so they have more investment in that, so they actually have more companies investing in blockchain technology. So it's quite like a government strategy, I would say, how they're going to treat this. But definitely it has to be regulated somehow, but in my opinion it should be when there's actually become like fiat money, because every day there is a different value in your wallet if you have cryptocurrency, and then how you value speculation when you have NFTs and so on. So it should be when the transaction occurs, when you sell and so on. But I'm not a tax specialist. That's like really what I think, but let's see how that's gonna happen. There's very gray area right now.
Yeah, I would like to add that I have quite a lot of experience of working with the taxman. It's not a problem. The regulatory authority of the banks, the FIBA, Finanssivalvonta, not a problem at all. But the banks are, if they find out that you have anything to do with not the cryptos but the blockchain, you got a problem, because the banks are extremely scared of the cryptocurrencies as a whole. I think it was before they were quite they thought that it's like a competition towards a fiat-based system. But right now, I think that they are scared that it could be used to hide assets and just move assets around, money around, laundering, maybe Russian source money. But it's very difficult with the banks. And what we have done is that there is fiat in, fiat out, and that's that. If you start to have cryptos in, cryptos out, mix that with fiat, then it's more difficult relating to regulation, and you have a lot of explaining to do. Another point is that we call these digital goods. They are not assets. They are not something you invest. We actually regulate the number we can mint of one thing, because if you have 1 million things, maybe they start to look like a currency, and that's a killer, because then the regulation is like tenfold more difficult. So yeah, but you need to understand the regulation, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason why we just can't have everybody can have a currency of their own and just pay taxes how they please. Of course, there's a reason, but then again, I hope that the Finland has a regulation that allows us to develop this field of NFTs, because I promise you, it will be many companies, many services, many jobs it will create, serving the global NFT. You're in the world of medicine, and there, I think there's a lot of fields that need to be covered, and I hope that we have businesses serving those, and we don't think too much about this taxation regulation side, that we have regulation that works.
Thank you. Before we start to wrap up the discussion, do we have any additional questions in the audience? Vesa, of course.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you. Like, so fantastic stuff, mind-blowing stuff. And as someone who is working for Yle, and Declaration of Human Rights is kind of a nice thing to put in our face stuff, and all the numbers of how big industries these are. Like, my question is basically like, what's going to happen when, like, my job will involve blockchains because I'm forced to do that? What's happens in the world?
When we are opening our marketplace in the end of summer, then you can buy the Yle tokens from there, right? But I think that I've of course monitored a lot of startups and companies, growing companies in the field of NFTs, and now there's a lot of great upcoming services that are focused on one field, be it like a education or the medicine or the health or of course the creative arts. Creative stuff is old, the games, but there's still a killer application or killer platform or anything like that will bring it to say, or user case that the general population will understand. Nobody understands of the prices you mentioned in your presentation. They're crazy. Nobody understands why a short video clip of somebody joking is worth $100,000. It doesn't make any sense, and it does not make any sense. So we need a user case which will be understandable for everybody, and after that it will open the floodgates. So if you remember how the Facebook started, it was like you were like, what to do with it? I ate a yogurt this morning or bread, and then you write that. It doesn't make any sense. But then people understood that, okay, I can connect to my old friends. I can send greetings for my grandmother when she just joined the Facebook. Then people understood that they can use it for something, and that started. We need a service that every people can use, and after that, it's just it's not a hockey stick. It's like a lift to the moon.
Johanna, just to clarify, like they actually, like my presentation was all about utility NFTs.
I understood.
So just like that, those are actually my favorite ones that actually have some other functionalities rather than just being a video that you can, a cat video that you can look at and own it. But I guess we have some questions as well.
Anna Huopala, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted actually to thank all of the speakers. I mean, I'm also completely amazed about all of this, and the dog is saying hello as well. And I just wanted to say that on the chat there's some options for funding, for instance, and the idea is that we want to support if there is anything like something like happening now. With use cases, and influencers, starting to do something around this, we would like to be able to help at the ministry. And 20 years ago, coming to what Juhani said about the fundamental rights, human rights, of course, copyright is a human right, and it's 20 years. Was about internet first. Then second, now we're talking about the third. Nothing changes, the point that you have the right to your creativity. So I think that was an excellent issue to raise. So we don't have to have anything to be afraid about if we just take the step forward to this space. Thanks.
That's great to hear. Thanks, Anna. Joshua, you're muted.
Yeah. So I wanted to add that, yes, I do believe that, policies would help a lot to make this become a success across the world. And in reference to that is that just yesterday, President Biden just signed this new policy to actually support, or at least get the government across the United States to start to investigate value that cryptocurrency can bring to the economy, and also to position the United States as a leader in global finance as well. So this is something that is worth celebrating, that I think the governments of the world are beginning to respond positively, especially when the US is already taking that kind of leadership position to put that out there. So it's actually an executive order, so which means it's definitely going into implementation phase. So I think that is a really, really good thing for any of us that might have concerns concerning policy issues, and if this is eventually going to have its own position, its own place in the world. So I do believe that it's coming, and I think the year 2022 would actually kind of stamp it, kind of make it, put it in stone that this technology is about to take a permanent position in general adoption. And then finally is I think the link that Anna provided, it's quite interesting. If we can come up with some nice event, and then we make an application for this fund, I would be happy to participate. Come up with ideas on what we can do to discuss possibilities to create adoption in Helsinki or maybe Finland in general. Thank you.
Yeah, if I may just add one quick thing about Vez's question. I feel like today you can already use it for licensing work. So I think like when you produce an event, I think one of the hardest thing is actually find the right holders of that said piece that you want to use, for instance, and pay the right people. So that's actually feasible today, and that's something that you can use to make your job easier. Or I mean, not necessarily you, but like in the ULE environment, for instance, I think that's something that can be done, and that's just my 2 cents on that topic.
Thank you, Yara. We have officially ran out of time. Thank you so much, Yara, Juhana, Joshua, for the great conversation.